Hey everyone, it's Anik again. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be the first update of my Pan 20 in 2020 project. If you didn't catch my intro for this project, basically what I'm doing is completely panning 20 eyeshadows in the year 2020. So I was a little nervous at the end of my intro video when I saw the eyeshadows that were randomly selected. So I used the Pretty Random app to just choose 20 eyeshadows from my entire collection, and it was eyeshadows that had pan. There's a couple that had pan, some that have been used, and some that were very brand new to my collection. A lot that were pretty brand new to my collection actually. So I did get a little nervous at the thought of that, but I kind of regrouped and took inventory of like what I had, how much progress had been used on each of these eyeshadows, and I'm a lot more comfortable now with the idea because originally I was going to do a Pan That Palette project, and most of the eyeshadow palettes that I was going to use had anywhere from like 14 to 18 shadows, and to completely use those up, it's not that different from just completely using up random 20 from my collection. So I was a little bit more confident after that, and then I have completely panned an eyeshadow, and I know if you know, you probably know what eyeshadow that is if you watch the intro, but it had a lot of progress on it, but being able to knock out at least one shadow this first month is, you know, calming the nerves a little bit. But here you can see there's a tiny little bit still, not really enough to actually use. But this was the shade Heavenly from my Profusion Beauty Star. I did depot this from that palette because it's a really big, bulky, like beauty box type of palette. I actually have it right here. It's really big. I still have eyeshadows in here. I think once they're introduced into my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, I might just depot them as well and put them in a Z palette. But to like reach for this constantly was a little annoying, to be honest. So I did depot that shadow to use it, and I was able to completely use that up, which is really exciting. I am keeping tally of how often I'm using these shadows, and that one I used a total of 7 times in this project. It was completed on January 23rd. So just recently I reached into it, and I actually had to go and reach into another shadow to complete my look because I ran out like mid eye look. So pretty exciting on that. I do have a little bit of progress in some others. So in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project, which I'm continuing also throughout the year 2020, so at the end of this year I'll have 2 big projects that I'm completing. I have these 2 Milani palettes. It's the Pure Passion and then the Most Loved Mattes. Those are also in my Pan Those Eyeshadows and my Pan 2020. This one is in my Pan Those Eyeshadows, and this shade right here is in this project. So while I'm using this for my Pan Those Eyeshadows month to month, I'm also using the other eyeshadows in that project. So Passion, I also have one that's in this project and one that's in my Pan Those Eyeshadows. And the one that's in this project is this one right here. It's called Afterglow. It's a shimmer, and I found at the beginning of using that shadow it was very different in texture, but once I got through the first layer, the formula seemed a lot different. So I'm not too sure what that means, but I have enjoyed using it after I got through that first top layer. But this one is in this project, and I've been using it to deepen my outer corners. As you can see, there's not a lot of progress yet. I didn't use this a single time before it entered the project, so that's why I was a little nervous. So another rule that I've made for myself is every eye look that I do has to incorporate at least one shadow from either my Pan Those Eyeshadows project or this project. So that way I'm constantly making some progress, even if I want to like branch out. But I feel with randomly selecting the 20 eyeshadows in this project, I actually have a good range, so I can always create an eye look that kind of makes sense for the season, makes sense for what I'm wearing. So a lot more confident this go around. One of the great things about being able to finish Heavenly so quickly in this project is it was my go-to transition shade. And luckily I have a few other transition shades in this project. So I have Tanacon from the Shane Dawson Conspiracy palette, and I also have the shade Sassy from the Opposites Attract e.l.f. palette. And that is going to be my next focus. So anytime I need like a transition shade, I'm going to reach for one of those two, and I think I might reach for Tanacon. So the 5 shadows I have from the Conspiracy palette are Tanacon, Just a Theory, Conspiracy, Not a Fact, and Illuminati. So Just a Theory and Illuminati are a part of my Pan Those eyeshadows, and the other 3 are in this project. So since this is in both projects, I'm probably going to reach for the Tanacon shade as my transition, just because I'm going to try to reach for it for these 2 in my Pan Those eyeshadows. And those ones I'm just hitting pan on, it's not completely clearing the pan, but the other 3, gonna have to clear the pan on them by the end of the year. The only one I'm worried about actually is the shade right here, Not a Fact, because it is crazy pigmented. It is a gorgeous shade, and I really do love reaching. It has so much pigment that you don't have to use a lot, so it's like, ugh, kind of love that fact, but also it's going to be hard for this project. But we're right, and so my focus for the next update, so into February, when I have update number 2, I want to get through a couple of my pink shades. So I do have a few pink shades, and I think one of the groups that I did during my intro had like a good color story, and I'm going to post that here. Shades that I want to focus on for February come from the Makeup Revolution Integrity Wild Animal palette. It's this really pretty like royal blue one. And they're these 2 shades right here. They don't have shade names, but they're going to be, this mirror is huge, I don't want to like blind you. It's going to be this one and this one. And they're really pretty. And I think they're perfect for like Valentine's Day. You can barely see the one, it's very subtle. Don't mind my liner that I was testing out earlier. It's a very subtle shimmer, and I really like that lighter one. The shade I'm going to try to focus on for the month of February comes from the Jeffree Star Jawbreaker palette. So the shade I have in here for this project is Cotton Candy. It's this shade right here. It's a really pretty shimmer. It's very soft, but it's very pigmented. Jeffree Star is just his pigments are crazy. So there's those 3. You can still barely see that first one, but those 2 pinks, and they're a little similar in camera, but in person this one's more of like a hot pink, this one's more hot pink, and this one's a little darker of a pink. But that's the 3rd one I'm going to try to focus on. I also have this single from Ciate. It is a Luminous Lilac, and it has a couple, like it has a little bit of fallout from another eyeshadow, but this one I have a decent dip in, actually, if you can see it. I don't know if you can. Right there. There's a good dip in it. So I might just focus on this one to hit pan at the very least, but it's a really pretty like shimmery purple. It's really pretty. Like when you swatch it, it's just ugh, cotton candy. But very pretty, and you can build it up to have that like really like kind of bruised effect, which I was really into for a while, and that's why I love that shade. But there's those 4. And I also had a deeper purple that was from my Love in London palette. It's this one right here. I still have the sleeve on it. I don't know how that's managed to survive. But the shade Duchess. So it's this one right here is what's in my project. And so this one is like a very deep, beautiful, like purple shimmer, and I do enjoy that one a lot. It's so pretty. So I think this is a great color story to kind of focus on, and my goal is to maybe hit pan or use up as much as I can of this luminous lilac shade and get some good progress in a couple of these other ones. The BH Cosmetics Love in London, it's pretty easy to hit pan if you're focusing on it. The shimmers are great, and what I like to do with that purple one is just like pack it all over the lid. And I've used Posh before as like a liner. Posh is also in this project, so it's great to have like multiples in use, but I do want to get like a good chunk of use out of this within this next month. So those are my focus. So that is my update for my Pan20 in 2020. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the colors I've chosen to focus on for the month of February, and what are some of your favorite projects to watch on YouTube. Let me know in the comments below, and I will see y'all next time.